part where I'm supposed to speak, that's optional, right? Right, good morning. We're now on the 8th of August 2020. We're still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, but you wouldn't know it just being out here in the countryside. Currently, I'm out in the Lake District. We're in a little area called Skelwith Fold, which is just a few miles outside of Ambleside. Now, I'm on my first really early morning trek at the minute. It's about 5:30 a.m. at the moment. The sun has yet to appear over the horizon, and I'm on my way to Loughrigg Fell with a brief stop at Loughrigg Tarn to see if I can get some nice landscape shots and possibly some long exposures of the waterfront. Right, I have now arrived at Loughrigg Tarn, as you can see. Now, I've got to work out how to get to this waterfront. There must be some kind of access way along this fence here. Let's have a look. This is looking very promising. Bingo. Okay, now that I'm done at the lake, I'm making my way up to the top of Loughrigg Fell. I don't know how far I'm going to get or what the light's going to look like when I get up there. But hopefully I'll be able to get a good landscape shot from up there with some really nice light. It's 7 a.m, so we've officially had sunrise now. Okay, so just to talk you through the kit that I've brought with me to the lakes this week. My main driver, of course, is my Panasonic G9, which I'm, of course, filming this on right now. The lens I'm currently filming on right now is the Leica 8-18 wide angle, which in 35mm land equates to a 16-35. And the other lens I've got with me is the 100-400 Leica, which is an enormous range on micro four thirds. That gives me a 200 to 800mm equivalent lens, which for birds and wildlife is ideal. So I've brought with me just a cheap polarizing filter, knowing that I was going to be shooting a lot of lakes and water to help reduce the reflections. And I've brought some variable ND filters to help control the exposure. Now, if I'd have had more time before this trip and if I had a bit more money, I perhaps would have invested in a Lee filter system so that I could do some grad shots of the sun on the horizon. I know I'm going to have to do a lot of manipulation in Lightroom to try and bring the exposure back in the sky. I've commenced my ascent up Loughrigg Fell. Hopefully in the next half hour or so, I'll be at the top of all this. Looks like I've reached the really steep part. So at the top of this hill, I should be at the top of Loughrigg Fell. God, I really do need to get a bit fit. Well, in my unfit state, somehow I've made it to the top. It is very windy up here, but I am wearing a wind jammer on my radio mic, so hopefully you can hear me okay over this breeze. And just look at that view. That was certainly worth that ordeal getting up here. You can see Lake Windermere over there, and in the very, very far distance, I believe I'm looking at Lancaster and Barrow-in-Furness. Agile little buggers, aren't you? Okay, so here I am now at the very, very top of Loughrigg Fell. I'm standing next to this stone marker here, which I'm assuming is some kind of fell walker's marker used for direction finding for hikers and such like. I'm glad I went to the trouble of carting this tripod all the way up here, although I didn't think it at the time of ascent, as it damn near killed me getting up here. I've used it for the numerous landscapes as well as the long exposures of the waterfront of Loughrigg Tarn, which I photographed a bit earlier on this morning. These are some of the best views I've seen here in the Lake District so far. Okay, I'm here at Skelwith Bridge. I stopped briefly because I rather like this bridge and this stream cascading underneath it here. So I took a moment to set up the tripod and I put a polarizing filter on the lens and I filmed a long exposure shot. Hopefully you can hear me over this noise. This wasn't on my itinerary, but I've made a slight detour as we have a waterfall. Okay, so here we are now at this waterfall. I don't know what its name is, but I will endeavour to find out from the guidebook later, and that will appear in the video. That was definitely worth it. I got a brilliant long exposure shot. I achieved that silky smooth flowing water effect by using a combination of a polarizing filter and a variable ND filter. Hello there. Just make sure I don't get too close to people still because of COVID-19, the weird world we're living in. Outstanding social distancing, sir. Okay, nearly at Grasmere Lake now, which you can see hopefully in the background there. I've seen a deer in the woods on the way down here. According to a local sign I've seen, there may be some red squirrels in these woods. I've yet to see one, and knowing my bloody luck, it'll appear when I've got the wrong lens on. Well, I was certainly expecting great things from Grasmere Lake, and this certainly doesn't disappoint. There's not a breath of wind in the air at the moment. In fact, the only break in the water I can see is being created by these ducks waddling across. It's about 9 AM at the moment. It's still relatively quiet. I've seen a couple of dog walkers and a couple of families just out walking, but other than that, I've pretty much got this lake to myself. So yes, as soon as I arrived, I pretty much set up the tripod straight away and grabbed some long exposure shots as well as some bracketed shots of the island in the middle of the lake there. Now, I thought I was going to need to use long exposure for all of this so that I could create that flat base on the water, but because it's so calm today, I've not needed to do that. And there's just enough mist left that it's creating a bit of an atmosphere on the water here. So yes, I set off at about 5:30 AM this morning. It's 9 o'clock now. And yeah, the simple truth is, when you're shooting both video and photo content, everything does take twice as long. So a walk that should have taken me an hour and 15 minutes ended up taking me about 3 hours. Right, I'm now down at the lake. Pretty much photographed it from every conceivable angle. Did bracketed shots, shot long exposures, shot 4K video, shots super slow-mo. If it moved, I shot it. If it didn't move, I shot it. I think you get the idea. So yeah, Grasmere Lake has been nothing short of spectacular and an absolute joy to photograph this morning. So after several hours of walking on roads, walking through woods, walking up hills and walking through fields, I've finished walking around Grasmere Lake. Suffice to say, I've had a good workout. My feet are all blistered, but it's been a very fun and very satisfactory hike around the lakes today. If you like what you see, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for notifications when I upload new content. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.